Well, hello. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Ito, what the actual heck are you doing up at 1:40 in the morning in a bathrobe talking? All right. I was up late. I've been up late thinking and stuff, and one of the things I thought about was to comment um, the reply to my reply to Carrot's post. Um, that you saw at the beginning of this. Basically, something along the lines of I may or may not have been looking for your opinion specifically because you're the wisest person I know, which honestly, in my opinion, means you probably need to meet wiser people. I'm not terribly wise, but I do try to learn. So, and then just because I kind of came across this idea at like 1:30 a.m. I have to be really quiet because people are asleep. And this is either going to be a really good idea or a really bad idea. I'm going to try to teach you a few things that are wise so that maybe you can come to an understanding of your own. Now, this isn't going to be any type of comprehensive list, but it will be just a few things to hopefully get you started. One, without getting too deep into religion, I must make it abundantly clear that the beginning of wisdom, forget anything else I say in this video, if you want wisdom, you will never be able to obtain it without a fear of God. I'm gonna just let that speak for itself. Because everything else that I'm gonna say stems from that one fact, that the beginning of wisdom is fear of God. God will judge. God will be our judge. And since He will be our judge and He will hold everybody accountable, we should live with that in mind. That is, if absolutely nothing else, that is the wisest thing you can do, is to live with a reverence for God. What do I mean by that? Now, when I say fear, I don't mean that you shouldn't enjoy life. It's a good thing to enjoy life. You should enjoy life while we have it. What I'm saying is that everything here, money, relationships, in a sense, positions of power, things we want, things we have, all that stuff that we think about every single day, that really just boggles our mind down when we don't really need to be boggling our minds down with it. All that stuff's gonna go away. None of it matters. None of it. In the grand scheme of things. Obviously you do need money, and I'll get to that. But it isn't the point of life. Okay. With that out of the way, let me get into a couple of practical bits, a few tidbits here and there of just very practical examples of applying wisdom to everyday life. Now, I know a lot of people wouldn't do this stuff anyways, because they have common sense. But like, let's say you're in middle school, because like this type of thing would happen all the time in middle school. Let's say you're in middle school and someone's, you're chums with somebody and they have a bone to pick with some other person, and they say, hey man, I'll give you $20 if you get that person in trouble. Or I'll give you $20 if you make a fool of that person. Or, oh, I'll give you $20 if you make fun of that person. Or if you like roast him in front of everybody. Let's say you do that. And you, which doesn't usually happen by the way, do get the $20. You basically just destroyed somebody else's reputation and ruined their day, maybe their week, maybe their month, maybe the course of their entire life. You don't know what they're going through for $20. So don't freaking do that. Treat other people with the utmost respect wherever it is due. Look for the best in people unless there is absolutely nothing good to be found. And I mean absolutely nothing. Unless there is absolutely no redeemable quality in an individual, which is, in my opinion, probably impossible, then look for the best in people and respect the dignity that they have as human beings. Now, why should we do that? Why should I care about how I treat other people? Why should I treat other people with dignity in the first place? Once again, not to get too terribly into a religious context, but it matters here because this is true. People, you, me, your enemies, your friends, your neighbors, your mom, your dad. I was gonna say your cat, but it's like obviously not your cat. Are created in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, for that, just that alone, they should be treated with respect. And if you go back to my first point, that the beginning of wisdom is to fear God, because God will judge, then you should observe and follow what God tells you to do. How do we know what God tells us to do? It's been recorded. It's been recorded and passed down for decades, millennia even. It's been written and passed down. And what is one of those commands? To love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might or strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Now naturally the first one implies the second, or the second implies the first. I don't know, I'm tired. If you love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, then you will love your neighbor as yourself, because the Lord says to do that. And because you love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, you will want to do what he says. Because to follow the paths of God are to live a good life, are to live rightly, are to live in a proper way. There is no way of living properly without following the commandments of God. It is impossible. Cannot happen. Now you might say, well, what about people who aren't Christian and who live righteous lives? Aren't the righteous parts of their lives righteous by the nature of them following what God has already said, albeit without that intention in mind? So once again, it boils down to, if nothing else, fear God and obey His commandments. That's honestly about as best as it boils down to. Now, I'm thinking about it from this perspective, and I know it sounds cliche, but it isn't cliche. It's just said a lot, because it's true, but if you strip it from its religious context, it doesn't have the same amount of weight. Do to whatever you want other people to do for you, whatever you want other people to do on your behalf, or whatever the case may be. Like, you would want people to show care to you. You would want people to care about what you're saying. You would want people to hear and take into consideration your opinion. You would want people to not rip you off. You would want people to not murder you in your sleep. You would want people to, reach out to you if you were in trouble. You would want people to lend a helping hand if you were in need. Do that type of thing for other people in those circumstances. If somebody says, if somebody genuinely needs your help, help them. If somebody, just out of the random, hey, I'm gassing up my car, I don't have quite enough money. Hey, can you spare me any money? Spare that person money. You use your good judgment when making these decisions. But don't neglect to do good when you have a chance to do so. If you're able to do what is good, how do we know what is good? Because it is ordained by God. I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of pauses here. I'm tired. I have to think through things. Because this might be the only time anybody here hears of them. Alright? Now, a big stumbling block in people actually improving, and I think it's the problem with a lot of self-improvement, is that it has a tendency to build pride. And you can be the wisest person in the world. You can have all the acclaim. You can build yourself up. You can have the six-pack abs, or whatever the heck people are chasing nowadays. Whatever the new status symbol is. You could have the Tesla or the Lamborghini. You could have you can make $100,000 a year by age 14 or whatever. But if you allow that to be like, oh yeah, I'm so much better than you, look at me, I have so much, knowledge, look at me, I know so much more than you, look at me, if you know so much more than people, don't boast about that, don't brag about that. Teach if you are able. If you think you know more than people, first of all, make sure you actually know what you're talking about, because 9 times out of 10 you don't. 2, make sure you're not being a complete hypocrite and actually follow, to the best of your ability, the things that you're telling people to do. And 3, if you can teach, if you already got through the first 2, then if you can teach, don't belittle, don't make people feel inferior, because that is so rude, demeaning, and frankly, it makes you look like a jerk. Yeah. but pride will get in the way of actually making progress. The only way I was actually got to a point where I was receptive to the good news that God provides is when I was humbled almost to death. I was, at one point, the most prideful, arrogant, did not give a darn what you thought type of person. I would, you don't want to know the types of things that I have done. The amount of things I have done that are so horrible, and I wish with every dying breath, if it weren't for God and His forgiveness, I would wish with every fiber of my being to go back in time and change. To change. You have no idea. You have no idea. Now, if I can find it here, I'd like to list just one more thing, and then I'll wrap up, if I can find it. Therefore, Son of Man, say to your people, if someone who is righteous disobeys, that person's former righteousness will count for nothing. And if someone who is wicked repents, that person's former wickedness will not bring condemnation. The righteous person who sins will not be allowed to live, even though they were formerly righteous. If I tell a righteous person that they shall surely live, but then they trust in their righteousness and do evil, none of the righteous things that person has done will be remembered. They will die for the evil they have done. And if I say to a wicked person, you will surely die, but then they turn away from their sin and do what is just and right, if they give back what they took in pledge for a loan, return what they have stolen, follow the decrees that give life, and do no evil, that person will surely live. They will not die. None of the sins that person has committed will be remembered against them. They have done what is just and right. They will surely live. So, I will conclude this already really long video. I haven't done a video this long in a while. I will conclude it by saying this. If nothing else, fear the Lord. Seek to do what is just. Seek justice. Love mercy. And be humble. Walk humbly. And obey the Lord. If nothing else, if none of the other things in this video made any sense, at least do that. Search for wisdom. Seek to understand and hold fast to what is genuinely true. Do not depart from wisdom. Do not turn from it. Do not turn from the truth to the right hand or to the left. Keep your eyes fixed straight ahead. Do not turn to folly. Do not turn to theft. If you do, which is inevitable, return to the straight and narrow path as soon and as quickly as possible, and don't depart from it. With that, I think I've honestly said enough. It's almost 2 a.m. and I should really get some sleep because I have work tomorrow. I just thought I should make this video for you guys. So, I hope you'll have a great night or morning or whatever the heck it is. Bye.